This presentation will discuss Local Law 84, Energy Benchmarking. We are Associated Renewable, a leading energy consulting and carbon management company. Local Law 84 requires energy benchmarking. Energy benchmarking is a method to establish a comparative understanding of like building energy usage. And it's one of the 4 plans a part of the Greener, Greater Buildings Plan, which affects 16,000 buildings in New York City. And so this benchmarking is required by law to be conducted annually. The goal of the Greener, Greater Buildings Plan is to reduce New York City's carbon footprint. Local Law 84 in particular requires large buildings to conduct an annual analysis of energy and water consumption. 75% of New York City's carbon emissions are from its buildings, so the Greener, Greater Buildings Plan aims to reduce carbon emissions by focusing on energy solutions for New York City's residential and commercial buildings. The applicability of Local Law 84 depends on the building type. For city buildings greater than 10,000 square feet that are owned by the city or for which the city regularly pays all or part of the annual energy bills are required to benchmark. However, buildings owned by the city that are less than 50,000 square feet and participate in an HPD program are exempt from Local Law 84. Commercial and mixed-use buildings greater than 50,000 square feet or 2 or more buildings on the same tax lot that together exceed 100,000 gross square feet are required to benchmark. And for residential buildings 50,000 gross square feet or more, or 2 or more buildings on the same tax lot that together exceed 100,000 gross square feet are required to benchmark. However, 1, 2, and 3 family homes or condos and co-ops with no more than 3 dwelling units are exempt. Benchmarking must be conducted by May 1st of each year using the EPA's Portfolio Manager tool. Water benchmarking must be conducted for buildings with a DEP-provided automatic water meter. Buildings without DEP-provided automatic water meter reading equipment or with such equipment installed for less than a year are not required to undergo benchmarking for water use. If sub-metering is in place in a building, commercial and mixed-use buildings must collect the relevant data from their tenants regarding energy use. An important part of benchmarking is proper data collection. Billing information must be collected for the total calendar year covering electricity, gas, fuel, oil, and steam, and water if you meet the requirements discussed in the last slide. Building owners must collect this data from non-residential tenants if they have a separate meter. Building square footage also must be determined either via an on-site assessment or from the building plans. The first step in benchmarking is, of course, to determine if Local Law 84 applies to your building. If it does, then you should provide the benchmarking administrator with the building gross square area and a breakdown of the square footage by space use type. Then collect and compile the property's whole building energy usage for the entire calendar year, gather information on space use attributes for the property, and send the benchmarking non-residential tenant information collection form to non-residential tenants with their own utility meters. Then all this information should be compiled and entered into the EPA's Portfolio Manager. If you do your benchmarking with Associated Renewable, we will take care of everything. We will do the EPA Portfolio Manager generation, compile the building data, including the gross square footage and gross floor area of residential and commercial spaces, and we will obtain the energy usage data. Our engineers will analyze that energy usage data and confirm that it meets the specifications before entering it into the Portfolio Manager. We will then use Portfolio Manager to generate the energy report, which will be submitted to the New York City Department of Finance for Local Law 84 compliance. And then we will also provide you with a written report including an explanation of how to access the energy data, the calculation methods used in the analysis, and copies of the data entered into the Portfolio Manager. We're then available to answer any follow-up questions that owners, managers, or boards may have about the energy report. So why benchmark? Obviously, it's a legal requirement. Local Law 84 requires annual benchmarking. but also allows you to understand how your facility compares to other buildings in the same zone with similar weather conditions. You can assess if the energy use of your building is better or worse than other similar buildings. If you do not comply with Local Law 84, cumulative fines of $2,000 per building may be assessed. And so compliance is a great way to avoid these fines. Benchmarking data will all be published and made public in 2013. So it will allow potential tenants and property owners to see that benchmarking data. And before signing a lease, they will have access to that data and can assess future utility payments. Also, the publication of this data will allow owners of outdated and inefficient buildings to compare their energy use with that of more efficient buildings and see that they're paying more in operating costs and can undergo some energy efficient renovations to bring those energy costs down. So to recap, benchmarking is required by Local Law 84, and it allows you to assess your energy usage compared to other similar buildings. It also allows you to identify potential energy inefficiencies that may be able to be mitigated in some simple ways. And it allows you to avoid heavy quarterly fines. Here at Associated Renewable, we do offer multi-year free benchmarking with an audit agreement. If we go in and conduct an energy audit, we will conduct free benchmarking for a period following that audit. If this is something that interests you, please don't hesitate to contact our account managers. And if you have any other questions, feel free to send us an email at info@associatedrenewable.com. Thanks very much.